Hello, guys, and welcome to the second episode of my CSS tutorial playlist or course. So, yeah, here we are. In this episode, I'm going to explain the syntax of CSS and reasons why CSS is used, and I'm gonna show you a few examples of how it can be used. First, however, I have created a folder called styles. It has a style2.css. The 2 is the episode 2. We gotta link this, so link relation style sheet, and the href is gonna be styles slash style2.css. And after that, let's go to the body element. I'm gonna give a few examples. Let's make an h1 element. Let's say that this is my second CSS tutorial video. So, why do people use CSS? CSS is used to define styles for web pages, including the design, layout, and variations in display for different devices and screen sizes and much more. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys some examples. Let's also make a paragraph that says CSS is the styling tool of a web page. And I think I'm gonna need one more uh, element that could be, let's say, a button. There we go, and this is gonna be saying hello. Okay, we got body h1 paragraph button. So the HTML syntax goes like this. First, you select the CSS property. I'm gonna select the body, and then curly brackets. And then I'm gonna make the background dash color of the body, let's say light gray. And you can see the background of my web page is now light gray. I will use HSL values. I'm gonna set this to be 80. And let's make a font family as well. Font dash family colon Arial Helvetica sans serif. So what this basically does is that it will set a font to the web page. It will first look for Arial. If Arial for some reason is not able to be used, it will look for Helvetica. If that's not able to be used, it will look for sans serif. So you can add as many backup fonts as you would like, but 3 should be enough. As you guys can see, the font has already changed. So the syntax is to first select a selector. In this case, it's the body element. And then I applied some CSS code over here. So this is the syntax. We have the CSS code right over here. For example, background dash color. Then we have a colon, and then we set the color by HSL. Now, in the next episode, I'm gonna go through the colors in more detail and the differences that they have, but for now, let's just go with these examples. I'm also going to say that well, I'm not gonna add anything else to the body. Alright, then we got an H1 element. let's go and select that. Let's make the font size 3em. 3em means that it's gonna be 300% to the size of the original. Then we can also, actually, I think this is a little bit too big. Let's make 1 point, let's keep it at 2. I think that's the normal. Alright, anyways, we can do text align center. And now my heading is at the center. Alright, then we can do color colon white. Now it's white. Then we can add a background color to this one as well. Let's make it black. And then I can add some padding. Padding is space inside of an element. So padding 10 pixels. There we go. As you guys can see, now there's some space around this area right here. Alright. So that's the H1. Let's take our paragraph and let's set the text align to be center again. Color is already black. Let's say that we're gonna make the font size 20 pixels. The regular font size for a paragraph element is 16 pixels. So 20 pixels will make it slightly larger. Let's also make the font weight bold. So yeah, there are so many CSS CSS codes that I don't even know them all, but if you don't know how to do something, you can search for it from the internet. However, when you do this for a while, you are going to remember these most important ones from your head. You don't have to search for them. You're gonna remember them when you do CSS enough. Also, I want to change the color of this to be light blue because this is CSS, and I'm gonna use HSL values, and there we go. Looks good. Okay, then we can make a text decoration. For example, there's dashed, dotted, double, line through none, overline solid, underline wavy. If I add wavy, nothing happens. If I add underline, now the paragraph has an underline. So yeah. And then we got the button. Here we go. Let's make the background color. I'm gonna select an HSL value once again. That's good. Alright, and then we can remove the border. Border none. Let's add some padding, space inside the element of 20 pixels by 10 pixels. No, the other way around. 10 pixels, 20 pixels. Alright, and let's make the font size 20 pixels and font weight bold, and then let's make the button round. Let's say 10 pixels. Now you can see the corners are rounded. Okay. So yeah, that's basically the CSS syntax over there. So you put a CSS code, colon, and then what you want to do with it. So PX stands for pixels. So for example, we have padding, we have 10 pixels of space, extra space, inside of this element, and as you guys can see, it makes a real difference. there's the difference. So yeah, it looks better like this. However, as you guys can see, there's a little bit of margin. Margin means space outside of an element, over here and over here, at the left and the right sides. So what we can do is go to the body and set margin to be 0 originally. And now this black line is gonna go from left to right, and there's no space in between the border of the web page. Alright, what if we have two buttons? Button, good job. Now they are all going to have the same styles. However, what if I want to style this button differently? I gotta add an ID onto it. My button 2. Alright, now we have an ID. To select an ID, we gotta use a hashtag. Hashtag my button 2. And then we can do whatever we want. Let's, for example, let's set some margin dash left of 100 pixels. It will add space between these buttons. So hashtags are used to select an element with an ID. Then there's classes. So let's make a third button, and class is gonna be my button 3, and that's gonna say nice. Okay, and then to select a class we gotta use a dot. So dot my button 3, and then we can do margin dash left 200 pixels, for example, and then this one could be 150 pixels. 150, yeah, there we go. And the button, let's take that, and margin space outside of an element, add space to the left of 20 pixels. Alright, let's see, what about 15? Alright, that looks pretty good. They are nicely over there, next to each other, and looking good. So yeah, let's make a H2 and say that this is the end of the page. Now we don't have any other H2 elements, so we can just go and select H2. Here we go. Let's do text align center once again. I want to add margin dash top 50 pixels. It will push the text down. I will make the font size to be 20 pixels, no, 2em. There we go. And then I am gonna copy the color from button, H1. So let's go here, then copy this with Ctrl C, paste it with Ctrl V. There we go. Let's add a background color of black and padding of 10 pixels. So there we go. I explained you guys now that we can select elements, we can select IDs or elements with IDs, and we can select elements with classes. So yeah, that's basically how CSS works. There's a lot more. We are going to get into the detail, but this is the first CSS page that we have correctly styled, and this is how it works. It's not too difficult. Now all these styles might feel a little bit overwhelming at first, but you will learn them. Trust me, you will. They are not so difficult. Alright, so yeah. I'm gonna see you guys in episode number 3, and in that episode we are going to talk about CSS selectors. So let's say H3. Next episode is going to be about CSS selectors. Alright, and I'm gonna style that one as well. Padding 10 pixels, background color, black, color white, font size 2em, text align, center, and yeah, margin top, let's say 300 pixels. No, 200 pixels. There we go. So yeah, this is the first CSS page that we have styled right now. And yeah, I hope I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. And hopefully this was informative and you learned something. So the most important things, hashtags are for IDs of elements, dots are for classes, and then an element's name will select all the elements with that name that don't have a class. Now if I added a class to the H2, for example test, it's not gonna do anything straight up. But if I was to go to the CSS and type in the dot test and color white, it will add the previous styles on top of this. So that's how this works basically, and with that you can avoid a lot of repeating yourself. So if you want all of your H2 elements at the page to have certain styles, you can make them here like this. Then, if there's a specific H2 element that you want to style differently, you can go ahead and add a class or an ID and style it differently. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. We'll have a lot of practice with this in the future. Anyways, this is the introduction to the syntax of CSS and our first CSS page, or our first page styled with CSS. Anyways, happy learning guys, and I hope I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day.